Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the English Daily Book Summary YouTube channel. In order to not stop learning, listen to an English book summary every day for free.
Carla Noemberg, How to Stop Losing Your Shit with Your Kids. A practical guide to becoming a calmer, happier parent. Every parent has been there. Your child is having a major tantrum, and after hours of chaos, you're ready to snap. No matter how much you try to keep your cool, sometimes it feels impossible not to lose it. Parenting can push anyone to their limits, especially when you're tired or stressed. But what if there was a way to recognize those moments before they spiral out of control? In this blink, you'll learn why losing your temper happens, how to recognize your triggers, and practical strategies to regain control before the situation escalates. We'll break down techniques to help you keep calm, manage stress, and ultimately stop losing your temper with your kids. The real reason you're losing your cool. Does this sound familiar? Your child spills cereal all over the floor, and before you even realize it, you're yelling. You know it's an overreaction, but it feels automatic, like something snapped inside. You're not alone. Losing your temper as a parent is a common experience. It often happens when you're pushed past your limits by stress, exhaustion, or emotional triggers. Understanding why you lose control is a first step toward regaining it. Meltdowns, or losing your temper, usually follow a pattern. They typically involve intense emotions like anger, fear, or stress, and these reactions are rarely conscious choices. Most of the time, they're automatic, ingrained responses rooted in your past. Perhaps you grew up in a household where your own parents lost their temper in similar situations, and without realizing it, you've adopted the same behaviors. It's not something you actively choose. It just happens, sometimes without warning. These outbursts aren't random. They're reactions to something specific, whether it's the frustration of being late, a difficult day at work, or even unrelated emotional baggage. Your brain is primed to respond to triggers that push you over the edge. In some cases, the trigger might not even be related to your child. Recognizing what you're actually reacting to is critical. But not all outbursts are created equal. Some moments of anger, such as yelling when your child runs into the street, come from a place of real concern and are appropriate. However, toxic explosions, like screaming over a minor inconvenience, are harmful. These outbursts damage your relationship with your child while increasing stress levels for both of you, making future meltdowns more likely. What's worse, losing your temper regularly takes a toll on your health. Each time you lose control, your stress hormones spike, which can lead to long-term issues like high blood pressure and weakened immunity. For your children, the impact is just as serious. Kids learn from what they see, and frequent outbursts can leave them feeling anxious or disconnected, setting them up to react similarly when they face stress. The good news is that by becoming more aware of your triggers and learning how to respond rather than react, you can start losing your temper less often. You're not expected to stay calm all the time. It's about gaining control over how you respond when things get tough. Next, let's focus on understanding what sets you off and how you can identify and manage those triggers before they lead to an outburst. Managing your triggers to stay calm with your kids. It's late in the day, you're exhausted, and your kids are testing every ounce of your patience. One more outburst and you feel like you're going to snap. What's happening here isn't just about your child's behavior. It's about your emotional triggers. We all have them, and understanding how they work is key to handling those difficult moments without losing your cool. Triggers are the situations that make you more likely to overreact or lose your temper, especially with your kids. Think of them as emotional buttons that get bigger and more sensitive when you're stressed, tired, or overwhelmed. Children, by their very nature, are experts at pushing these buttons, often without realizing it. Whether it's a tantrum or constant demands, their unpredictable behavior hits right at the heart of your vulnerabilities. The important thing to understand is that trying to stop your kids from pushing your buttons isn't the solution. Children's brains are still developing, and expecting them to always behave perfectly isn't realistic. They'll make mistakes, push boundaries, and act out no matter what you do. Instead of focusing on controlling their behavior, the key is to manage your own emotional responses. To do this, you need to first identify what your triggers are. Exhaustion, multitasking, loud noises, or anxiety are common triggers that might make you more prone to losing your temper. Recognizing when you're getting triggered is a first step in preventing a meltdown. Pay attention to your own physical and emotional signs, whether it's tension in your body, irritability, or obsessive thoughts. Noticing these early warning signs can help you take a step back before you lose control. Once you've identified your triggers, the next step is learning how to manage them. Sometimes you can fix or avoid them, like adjusting your schedule to get more rest. Other times, you'll need to accept that some triggers, like dealing with the child's tantrum in public, can't be changed. What matters is how you respond. Before we get into that, let's take a look at a few strategies that will make your triggers less sensitive. Doing less helps you stay in control. Managing the chaos of parenting often feels overwhelming, especially when you're juggling multiple tasks at once. There's a common scenario. You're trying to make dinner, keep the house clean, and respond to messages, all while your kids demand your attention. The more you try to do, the more stressed and irritable you become, and it doesn't take long before you snap. The truth is, doing less, specifically focusing on single tasking, can help you stay calmer and in control. Multitasking is a myth. The brain isn't designed to handle several activities at once, and when you try, your stress levels rise. The more tasks you take on, the more likely you are to make mistakes, overlook important details, and get frustrated. Single tasking, on the other hand, allows you to focus on one thing at a time, making you more efficient and reducing the mental load that often leads to emotional outbursts. Start by becoming aware of when you're multitasking. For example, if you're helping your child with homework while thinking about the laundry or checking your phone, pause. Commit to doing just one thing, whether it's being fully present with your child or finishing the laundry. The mental relief that comes from single tasking can quickly lower your stress and keep you from feeling overwhelmed. Single tasking doesn't mean you'll never multitask again, but you'll gain more control over when and how you handle tasks. Before you switch between activities, ask yourself if multitasking is really necessary. If you're tired or stressed, it's often better to focus on one thing at a time. One of the most effective ways to implement single tasking is by putting down your phone. Smartphones are notorious for drawing attention away from what's happening in the present. Disable unnecessary notifications, limit screen time, and keep your phone out of reach when you're with your kids. This simple change can dramatically reduce distractions and help you stay connected with the moment. By doing less, you'll create more space for calm, thoughtful responses instead of reactive meltdowns. Next, we'll explore practical strategies to keep your buttons from getting pushed and avoid losing your cool. Prioritizing rest, support, and kindness to keep calm. Feeling tired, overwhelmed, and constantly on edge? If you're a parent, the answer is likely yes. One of the main causes of losing your temper with your kids is deprioritizing key practices that help keep you balanced. You may think you're doing fine on minimal sleep or managing everything on your own, but the truth is, you're setting yourself up for failure To stop losing it with your kids, you need to focus on 3 non-negotiables: sleep, support, and self-compassion. First, sleep is not a luxury. It's essential. You can't function properly on 5 hours of sleep, and convincing yourself otherwise only leads to more frustration, bad judgment, and an increased likelihood of snapping at your kids. If you're constantly exhausted, start by tracking your sleep, sticking to a consistent bedtime routine, and eliminating screens before bed. Make small changes to improve your rest, like preparing for bed earlier or cutting back on caffeine and alcohol. And if you're in a phase where sleep isn't easily attainable, like with a newborn or sick child, adjust your expectations, slow down, and get through the day with minimal tasks. It's okay to lower the bar when you're running on fumes. Second, no one can parent alone. It's time to stop pretending that you don't need help. Building a support system is crucial. Your support network should include 3 types of people: professionals like doctors and teachers for expert advice, your crew for everyday help, and your closest friends for emotional support. Don't hesitate to ask for help or reciprocate when others need it. Parenting with others makes everything less overwhelming and helps keep your emotional balance in check. Finally, self-compassion is key. Many parents are their own worst critics, especially after a rough day. Instead of berating yourself, speak to yourself the way you would to a close friend. Acknowledge the challenges you're facing, recognize that you're not alone in your struggles, and respond to yourself with kindness. The more you practice self-compassion, the easier it will become to navigate difficult moments without losing your temper. Sleep, support, and self-compassion will create a foundation that helps you stay calm, focused, and emotionally available for your kids. Next, we'll look at how getting some space from your kids can help you keep it together. The power of taking a break from your kids. Sometimes, the best way to avoid losing your temper with your kids is to simply not be around them. It might sound strange, but creating intentional space from your children is one of the most effective strategies to stay calm. You can't lose your temper with them if you're not in the room, and stepping away helps cool down those emotional buttons they tend to push. In fact, today's parents are spending more time with their kids than any previous generation, and that constant togetherness can lead to burnout. Think about your other relationships. Do you want to spend every waking moment with your partner, best friend, or sibling? Probably not. A healthy connection includes space, and the same is true for your relationship with your kids. They need time to figure things out on their own, whether that's how to resolve an argument or build a fort. Continuous adult intervention not only stifles their independence, but also wears you down emotionally. Taking time away from your children doesn't mean neglecting them. It means carving out moments to care for yourself so that you can return refreshed and present. It could be as simple as swapping childcare duties with your partner on weekends, or letting a trusted family member watch the kids. When physical space isn't an option, like during family vacations or long weekends, try creating mental space. The ability to detach emotionally when your kids are acting up can be just as powerful as stepping into another room. For those who struggle with guilt over not spending enough time with their kids due to work, divorce, or other life circumstances, the solution is quality, not quantity. Connecting via phone calls, FaceTime, or handwritten letters can maintain strong bonds, even when time together is limited. Taking care of your mental health when you're apart allows you to be a more engaged and calmer parent when you're together. In short, making space, physically or mentally, benefits both you and your children. The more intentional you are about finding that space, the less likely you are to lose your temper. In the final section, we'll look at what to do when all else fails and you feel yourself about to lose your cool. How to regain control before you lose it with your kids. Let's be honest. No matter how much you've tried to manage your stress, avoid triggers, and build positive routines, there'll still be moments when you're ready to lose your temper with your kids. It could be the aftermath of a sleepless night or the 50th time they've ignored your requests. Whatever the reason, meltdowns happen. The trick isn't to eliminate them entirely, but to handle them in a way that prevents a total blow-up. When you're on the verge of snapping, the strategy is simple. Notice, pause, and do literally anything else. These 3 steps offer a way to interrupt your automatic reactions and make more thoughtful choices. It's about creating space between the trigger and your response. Noticing is the first step. If you don't notice that you're about to lose it, you won't be able to stop yourself. Recognize your tells, those subtle signs that show you're about to flip out, like a tense jaw or a short, clipped tone. The sooner you do, the more control you'll have. Once you notice, you can move to the next step, pausing. This can be as quick as taking a breath or as long as walking to another room. The goal is to calm your nervous system and stop the meltdown before it gets worse. Pausing allows you to take a step back without immediately reacting. Finally, you need to do literally anything else. Whether it's stretching, staying silent, or stepping away, any action is better than letting your frustration erupt. Choose something simple and non-triggering. For example, if yelling is your default reaction, don't scream into a pillow. Find a practice that truly helps calm you down, like breathing deeply or putting your hands on a counter to ground yourself. Mastering these steps takes practice, and you won't always get it right. But by noticing, pausing, and doing something else, you'll reduce the frequency and intensity of your outbursts. Keep practicing, and over time, you'll find it easier to keep your cool when parenting challenges arise. Even when things don't go perfectly, you're on a path toward better self-control. And that's a win. The main takeaway of this blink to How to Stop Losing Your Shit with Your Kids by Carla Naumburg is that by understanding your triggers and implementing simple strategies like single tasking and pausing, you can regain control in stressful moments with your kids. While you won't be able to avoid all meltdowns, using these techniques will help you stay calmer, reduce outbursts, and build stronger relationships with your children. Keep practicing, and remember that progress is a journey. Each step brings you closer to more peaceful parenting. Okay, that's it for this blink. We hope you enjoyed it. If you can, please take the time to leave us a rating. We always appreciate your feedback. See you in the next blink.